Not all foods can be canned the same way, and getting it wrong isn't just about ending up with mushy vegetables. It can be seriously dangerous. So today, we're going to break down the huge difference between water bath canning and pressure canning. And trust me, when it comes to preserving your harvest, understanding this is absolutely everything.
So let me ask you this. Why is a jar of home canned green beans potentially way more dangerous than a jar of homemade jam? I mean, they both look beautiful sitting on a pantry shelf, right? But one of them could be hiding a major risk if it was canned the wrong way. The answer to that question, well, that's the key to everything we're talking about today.
All right, let's meet our two main players. On the left, you've got the water bath canner, which is basically a really big pot. And on the right, you have the pressure canner, a heavy-duty piece of equipment with that locking lid and a pressure gauge. They look so different because they work in completely different ways, using different principles of heat. Which one you use all comes down to the science of what you're putting in that jar. So how do you know which canner to grab? Well, this decision has nothing to do with personal preference or what you saw your grandma use for everything back in the day. It is all based on science. And the one single key you need to unlock safe canning is understanding food acidity. So what are we fighting against when we're canning? Well, here are the culprits. We're trying to stop the growth of all these microorganisms, bacteria, molds, and yeasts. We're also trying to halt the natural enzymes that cause food to ripen and then rot, prevent oxygen from turning things brown, and lock in all that good moisture. Proper canning is our game plan to win this battle. Okay, here it is. Acidity is the most important factor. Period. It's measured on a pH scale, and for canning, the magic number is 4.6. Any food with a pH of 4.6 or lower is considered high acid, but anything with a pH higher than 4.6, that's a low acid food, and that's the danger zone where we have to be incredibly careful. High acid foods kind of have their own built-in superpower. We're talking most fruits, jams, and anything pickled or brined. Their natural acidity creates an environment where the really dangerous bacteria just can't get a foothold. Now, it's worth pointing out that even tomatoes, which we all think of as acidic, sometimes need a little boost from some lemon juice to get them safely below that 4.6 line. And then you've got the other team, the low-acid foods. This includes basically all of your fresh vegetables, yep, like our green beans from the beginning, plus all meats, poultry, fish, and hearty soups. These foods are amazing, but they don't have that protective acidity, which means they can become a breeding ground for nasty stuff unless we bring in some serious firepower. All right, so let's take a closer look at our first tool, the water bath canner. Now remember those high-acid foods, the ones with their own defense system? Well, this method is designed specifically and only for them. So how does it work? It's pretty straightforward. You completely submerge your jars in boiling water. At sea level, water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit. And that temperature right there is the key to this whole process. It's really a team effort. In these high-acid foods, the acid itself is doing the heavy lifting, stopping the bad bacteria in its tracks. The 212-degree heat from the boiling water then comes in and easily knocks out the weaker spoilers, like mold and yeast. This makes sure your food is preserved and that you get that satisfying pop of a good vacuum seal. Okay, I really need you to hear this. I can't say it enough. This method is fantastic, it's easy to get started with, and it's perfect for your jams, jellies, and pickles. But it is absolutely, positively, 100% only safe for high-acid foods. Using it for anything else is a gamble you just don't want to take. So, what do we do with all those delicious low-acid foods? Well, that brings us to our second method, pressure canning. This is the heavy hitter. It's the non-negotiable, absolutely required method for all those veggies, meats, and soups. A pressure canner is basically a sealed chamber that traps steam. As that steam builds, the pressure inside goes up, which allows the temperature to get way, way hotter than boiling. We need to reach at least 240 degrees Fahrenheit, and often we're aiming for 250, to make low-acid foods safe. And here's the scary reason why that extra heat is so critical. Low-acid foods can be a home for the spores of a nasty bacteria called Clostridium botulinum. Think of these spores as tiny, armored seeds of bacteria. They're so tough they can actually survive in boiling water, no problem. But if they survive inside a sealed, oxygen-free jar, they can wake up and produce a toxin that causes botulism. And that's why this is so important. Only the intense, powerful heat of 240 to 250 degrees, the kind you can only get inside a pressure canner, is hot enough to destroy those botulism spores for good. This isn't a friendly suggestion, it's a critical rule of food science that keeps you and everyone you feed safe. So let's bring it back to our green beans. This little chart makes it crystal clear, right? Trying to can them in a 212-degree water bath, that's a huge no. It just doesn't get hot enough to be safe. The only safe way to can them is in a pressure canner that hits that 240+ degree mark. The science couldn't be clearer. You know, the kitchen is a great place to be creative, but home canning is the one place where you have to follow the recipe to the letter. Your safety really depends on using recipes that have been scientifically tested. So please always rely on trusted sources like the National Center for Home Food Preservation or the USDA. Never ever just guess. Okay, I know that was a lot of science, so let's pull it all together into a super simple checklist. This will help you make the right call every single time you're in the kitchen. Think of this as your go-to cheat sheet. Ask yourself, is it a high-acid food, like fruit or pickles? Then you're going to use a water bath canner, where the acidity is your hero. Is it a low-acid food, like vegetables or soup? You must use a pressure canner, because you need that extreme heat to destroy the dangerous spores. See? When you break it down, it's actually pretty simple. And this is the payoff. This is why it all matters. When you follow the science and use the right method, your reward is a pantry that looks like this. It's full of delicious, beautiful, and most importantly, safe food that you can enjoy for years to come. You've literally captured the best of the harvest in a jar. So at the end of the day, what's the big takeaway? Knowing the difference between these two methods isn't just about following rules. It's about empowerment. It's about knowing you're protecting your family with every jar you seal. You're honoring the hard work from your farm or garden, and you're building a stronger, more resilient community, one safely canned jar at a time.